everybody. Welcome to Foster Care Uncovered. I'm Sarah Anderson, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Louise Allen. How are you this morning, Louise?
I'm tipped up, thank you. Lovely, lovely to be with you again. Thank you.
Same here. Um, Look, before we start, I know we both picked one of our favourite feedbacks from the week's podcast. I have to say thank you so much to everybody who's listening to them. Our producer, I use the term loosely, it sounds so posh, doesn't it? Our lovely Carl, who's helping us out here and is co-founder in many of these things. He will kill me if I don't say you have to do, what is it? You subscribe and hit the buttons, because actually we can get more people watching, more people interested. So please do that subscribing thing. So my favorite feedback was just a short one this week. It was from a foster carer who said, and I loved this no nonsense podcast. Didn't hate on fostering, but was clear it's not unicorns and rainbows either. And I think if we had a subtitle to our podcast, I'd like it to be that, because our mission is certainly not destruction, it's construction. And we are out on this podcast to clear up and expose and talk about and have conversations about the things that are holding it back from being the first class fostering service that we know it can be. So that's the reason I like that one. I think it was a great reflection on what we're wanting to achieve. Over to you, Louise.
Oh, I agree, Sarah. That's really good. And thank you everyone for listening. I must admit, when we started, I wasn't quite sure if anyone would listen, and I have been overwhelmed with the
Yeah,
amount of messages.
2,000 downloads or something. I don't know yet.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Yeah, this is a quote that I really like, and I thought, yeah, this one works for me because it's from somebody who was also care experienced. I just wanted to reach out and say how much I love your podcast. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm genuinely so grateful that you're both putting this out into the world. I really hope people in the right places start listening. I'm a foster carer, care leaver, and social worker. So I truly live and breathe this sector. Listening to your podcast has been incredibly validating. It makes me feel far less alone. And
Oh, wow.
isn't that just fantastic?
Oh, wow. If only that just one person had listened
Yeah,
and we'd achieved that, that would make my day.
that. Absolutely love it. I'm so grateful for you for actually sending that. I won't use your name because I know that you work in the sector,
Mm.
but alone is one of the things we feel because we are
Mm.
very much divided up, and I think sometimes that is intentional.
It's an
Sometimes
existential aloneness, isn't it, though? So everyone listening, no, we don't want more coffee mornings and bingo
no.
and being put into groups of other carers so that we don't feel so alone. It's not to do with that. We can do it another day, but it's much more existential than that, the aloneness in foster care. It's more about not being in a team and stuff like that. They always mistake it for needing to be in
More
great
coffee.
gaggles of people playing bingo, and it isn't. So,
I totally agree with you on that one.
yeah.
Right, so we're going to cover the big one. This
Mm.
one, for both of us, Sarah, for many years has been something that we've talked about,
Yeah.
that other
Yeah.
foster carers have talked about, that we've talked to local authorities about and independent fostering agencies. And I am often asked by foster carers who are thinking about fostering, what is the Form F?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
this is what we're going to unpack today.
Mm.
I know that your expertise is out there,
Yeah.
and I know that you know probably more than most people. So I'm gonna just give a little overview of the Form S, which is an assessment process that every foster carer has to do after they've expressed an interest. They do the Form F, which can last anywhere between 6 months and 12 months.
Mm.
And at the end of that, there is a panel where the foster carers go and see the panel, sit in front of them, and they either are approved or not.
Mm.
And then hopefully you begin to receive your foster children. So before we begin, a warning, this episode is blunt. Not because we're attacking assessors or agencies, but because the statistics are catastrophic and the system can't keep hiding behind tradition. However,
Yeah.
yeah. However, or
Mm.
However, if you are emotionally attached to the Form F, then this is a trigger warning and might be the time to turn the podcast off.
Hmm.
Mhm. This episode dismantles the mythology around the Form F, exposes the damage it causes, and sets out solutions and a modern alternative. No apologies for being uncompromising. We, and more importantly, our children, do not have the luxury of us skirting around these issues anymore. We know a thing or two personally about
Don't
this,
we
don't we,
just?
Sarah? And I just want to say, Sarah, how many have you been through?
Well, I've been through two. I started with a private agency and then moved to a local authority. It's no secret. Everyone knows I started with FCA and then moved to Hampshire County Council only after a couple of years with FCA. And the second one was a transfer, bearing in mind I was already an Ofsted approved, foster carer through an Ofsted approved agency, reapproved every year, thoroughly supervised, re-registered, you name it. But we got to 8 months and they still hadn't finished it. And I sort of turned around to them and said, you either finish in the next couple of days and transfer me or I'm off. I was absolutely at my wits' end. It was the most ludicrous thing going on week after week after week. And suddenly they got me through panel miraculously in a couple of days. I
Wow.
have to say, though, I'm not sure if they even finished the assessment. Um, as I think they're still looking for Gary, who I went out with in year 9. So, Gary, if you're out there, you might want to pop back,
Harry.
and finish my assessment for
Oh my
being
God.
a bit naughty, but
Uh,
um,
don't go there.
but come on, you've been through way more than me. You're an
Well,
old hand at it.
I am a seasoned Form F'er. Uh,
Out my water.
you just spat your water out there. I'm a seasoned Form F'er. Right. So we've been through the first one were, I don't know, was the most bizarre. The first one was with an independent fostering agency. And I'd put down in the initial interview that I had some care experience myself.
Hoping that was the plus.
Hoping that would be, I had
Oh,
some
well, that's amazing.
inside information that
Yeah.
could, and not at all.
Mm.
I was, in order to, the form was frozen at a particular point, and I was asked to participate in a special, it had a name like the old holiday, the government holiday insurance, E111, I don't know.
Mm.
And I was asked to participate in a one-off interview to test my whatever it is they wanted to test. Now we couldn't carry
This
on
is
the
because of your care experience.
because of my care
Yeah. Okay.
experience,
Some
which I
psychological deep dive into your, trauma.
really weird. The whole thing was weird. So I remember saying to my husband, I have no idea what's going on, but I've been asked to be at the offices at this time. So I drove halfway across the county and I got there and then I was sort of, oh, hello, can you come into this room, please? I went into this room and there was a man I'd never seen before in my life who was a social worker. They'd brought, they obviously give their odd jobs to, and a camera.
Oh
And
no, how
yes,
terrible.
it was
But
really
I remember you telling me about this. You said
bizarre.
you didn't think he was even qualified psychologist or anything.
No, he was a social
You're
worker.
going to root around in your care experience
I
path.
think he just qualified, and he was doing some odd jobs. And the psychotherapist who was attached to this particular agency was away, so that's why he was there. But I didn't know that. I thought I was going to meet her. So
Mm.
this bloke's standing there going, right, can you talk about your childhood, please? And I go, oh, okay. And I
Mm.
have this camera pointing at me, and I'm
Mm.
just way thinking, I don't know whether I'm doing any good or doing anything wrong. I'd have no idea. And at the end of it, he said, right, thanks very much. in touch. I thought, what? And
Did
then,
you even say to me, did you, at some point, talk about, I mean, I'm a psychotherapist, so it was shocked me really badly, but didn't somebody just wander in and get a coffee machine or something?
oh
There
God,
was no
you've got
boundaries or
such a
anything.
good memory. No, there was.
Yeah, I remember it's because it so was so bizarre.
We're in the middle of talking about my childhood.
Fragile, traumatic
Our
experiences.
childhood. And the camera's on me, and then there's not even a knock at the door, and this woman walks in and went, "Oh, just getting a coffee machine. Hi."
Oh,
Like,
God.
what? And then when
Oh,
we'd finished, I was said, we'll be in touch. So being in touch is you just done that to me, and now you're gonna.
yeah.
And then I had to wait quite a few weeks for the psychotherapist to come back from wherever she had been, and she phoned me up, and I felt like I was talking to God, you know,
Mm,
our future, my life, I
mm,
constantly having to prove myself again and
mm,
again and again
mm,
because I've been in care. And she said, yes, I decided this is not verbatim because it was a long time
mm,
ago.
mm,
The
mm.
gist was, oh yes, when I saw when we mentioned talking about looking after children, you opened your arms, and that to me said that everything was fine. You can work with
That was
children.
it.
That was it. I opened, I'm Italian. I wave my arms all over the place, and because I was talking about children, I opened my arms.
You see, what really gets me here is that people will sort of be shouting at the podcast, oh, it needs to be that, you needs to be that intrusive. We need to know. I'm not arguing about how intensive an assessment needs to be. I'm not arguing with how much that is important for the children and safeguarding. What we're doing here is exposing this assessment for what it is and how actually it probably does quite the reverse. So this isn't about saying we don't want to be assessed properly. And
Mm.
Gary, if you're out there, I think get in there and, finish my assessment for me because we
Very
do need to know from Gary from year 9, don't we? Especially if he stayed over twice.
Oh,
But no, I'm teasing a bit there, but yeah, I mean that, and you went on to do 3 more, didn't you?
we did 3 more formats, and this is where it becomes a little bit more interesting because one of my roles in my life is that I write, and I can write academic work, but I write stories, and so I can turn my hand to a bit of pen and paper and throw a sentence together. Now, the Form F was created once by that particular local authority. And then we were asked by the next independent fostering agency. Remember, foster carers move not because they're bored.
No, or
They
they
move
want more money, or no,
because what was happening was probably lack of support or abuse, or
yeah, yeah.
something was very wrong. We don't want to keep moving.
No, who wants to go through that? They move because they're desperate and be let down by whoever they're working with. Yeah.
You give the next one the template from the last one, and they adapt it and they change it and they pretend they spend weeks on it, and I write and you could do that in an afternoon often, and they'd come around, they ask you the
But they
same.
do it all over again, basically.
Well, you do the
Mm.
entire thing. You go and do all your DBS checks, your home assessments, your new references, and maybe you have to go back to people that you've asked before. And I've done that
Yeah.
sometimes, like the amount of flowers I've had to buy. A former partner checks, I was asked to contact an old boyfriend from 30 years ago who
Oh,
I had
yes.
no idea was dead or alive. And quite frankly, I don't want to keep them to know
No,
about my
no.
life. New financial checks. They want to do a deep dive into every aspect of your finances. Why? And then you go into new realm of new in-depth questions from where do you have sex and do you have loud sex?
Mm.
We were asked that, and I remember thinking, you've just gone over the line there, darling.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Really intrusive stuff and
Mm.
psychobabble. So we do this 4 times. The last time, I have to say, I feel confident that we landed with an independent fostering agency that feels normal.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it's sort of, so you do everything again. You keep repeating it, but I don't know what other job in the world requires you to retake your exams every time you.
Well, or just retake your I mean, I wouldn't mind if it was a registration, it was just a one-off, but it's renewed every year, annually. You go through an intensive household review, foster carer review, back to panel every single year by an Ofsted approved agency. Anyway, we're going to do another podcast on that because we don't want people. There is a register being bandied around, which we are all very much against, and they're trying to claim that that will be sorted via the register, which it won't. So we'll go back to that another time. So yeah, this conversation, let's be clear, real improvement we want, because while Core and Bath will tell you every layer of this process is essential, that it safeguards children, that nothing can possibly be done differently, the evidence is telling us a very different story.
Sarah, for our listeners out there that don't know who Coram Bath
Oh,
are,
yes.
Coram are, because are
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Can you just do a little explain of who they are,
Well,
please?
very quickly, Core and Bath are a very big organisation that's had a lot of influence on the foster care sector. It's basically a membership organisation for the local authorities and agencies. It's not for foster carers or anything like that. And they sell booklets and pamphlets and stuff like that that you can buy. And the Form F is one of those. They do other things. I think Coram themselves, for instance, won the contract to. They'll correct me there. It's not Coram Bath. It's they'll. I mean, tomato, tomato. But anyway, they got the government contract to run something called the IRM, the Independent Reviewing Mechanism, which is actually the only appeal process that carers have when they've had an allegation and been deregistered. They can go and appeal at the IRM. But it's odd for my mind that it's a bit of a conflict of interest that Coram run it when they're a membership organisation for local authorities and agencies. Anyway, I digress. So that is what Coram are. We have to ask ourselves, though, really, don't we? If the system is so robust, there's an elephant in the room here. Why are we still seeing deeply unsuitable carers getting through? And there, people will be quietly nodding at the podcast because we all know we've been places, spoken to. I do it regularly. People you think, oh, can't believe they're fostering children. And not always because they're abusive, but the way they talk about them, the lack of education they have around them, the total lack of understanding. I sometimes, and of course, there are thousands and thousands of brilliant ones, but let's not pretend that our whole workforce is fantastic. It is not. We've got to ask ourselves that, why we're not attracting and improving more capable, committed people from every demographic. Why aren't the professionals, more professionals with great transferable skills coming in? Why do 70% of people, we'll get to this later, withdraw themselves from the assessment process? And wait till you hear the stats on that. We'll have a look at those figures. They're really shocking. Why are the children's outcomes stagnating? Well, in some cases, getting worse. I say stagnating, they were shocking to begin with. Why are we experiencing carers leaving in unprecedented numbers? They're not signs of a healthy, protective, child-centred framework. Oh, they're the systems really, aren't they? The system built on a crumbling foundation. So yes, the Form F itself can be written, rebadged, retrained, relaunched as many times as they like. But until we address the foundation of it itself and what it is and have a complete rethink, the whole architecture of it, it's just like repainting the walls, over the crumbling plaster, and nothing will change. So, yeah. Do you want me to? Yeah.
Well, it feels to me, like when we went through the formats and listening to you and reading your articles, Sarah, which you've been at this for a long time, and I know I've touched on it in my books, but not with that you have, is that Form F treats carers like risks to be contained rather than professionals to be supported. So we're risk managed from the very beginning, and that sets up the whole mood music for your foster carer because it's about attrition. It's about us being reduced. And I now I'm getting on a bit in this sector and being through quite a lot. I ask myself why?
Lots of whys.
Why? Because that's a big why, isn't it? Sorry, I interrupt.
No, I was just going to explain what the Form F actually is. give an explainer on that and do some stats. Shall I do that?
That would be really helpful.
And also, I just want to ask how it became a relic that's been mistaken for a standard. I think when I originally wanted to redo it and rethink, based on not my own personal opinion, but thousands of interactions with people who've been on it, through it several times, thousands, and those who have been badly affected by it, those who've been traumatized by it. I wanted to do something new. So I spoke to the Department of Education and said, look, can we have a look at your Form F? Because I just don't think it's working. You ain't going to look at the stats to know it's not. And they went, it's not ours, Sarah. So this is how so ingrained it was. I said, what do you mean it's not yours? Oh, no, it's just Core and Bath's interpretation of the fostering regulations. I was like, whoa. So what it turns out is Core and Bath's Form F is like the Hoover of vacuum cleaners. Does that make sense?
That totally makes
it's a brand.
I totally get that.
Then we come to the extra knobs later.
Oh, hello.
Or like a knob. Sorry, we're intellectual. Remember intellectual. So it's just their interpretation of it. It's only like Hoover, like the Hoover, if we stick with the Hoover analogy, it's acquired its own bespoke add-ons and taken on a life of its own. In this case, it's so far removed from the actual regulations, with the authority of people who think they have the power to invent new policy and regulations. You know, I was agog when I found out it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You know, nothing in the regulations mandates trawling through 20-year-old relationships, doesn't go on about excavating childhood trauma, placing applicants under quasi-psychological interrogations.
Which it is.
I think this is no detriment to the assessors. They all do the job that they do, and they do it to the best ability. I'm not attacking assessors. We're attacking their system here. They're pushed into roles far beyond their remit. Applicants are exposed to stuff, and the system remains overly intrusive. And I'm not talking here about risk assessment. All those things are important, but it's inconsistent and harmful. And at the end of the day, Louise, it deters people rather than prepares them. Nothing in the Form F prepares a carer. The other thing is, it shapes the entire culture of fostering for me from day one.
Absolutely.
Sets up the power dynamics, doesn't it? The atmosphere, cozy meetings on the sofa with a cup of tea and biscuits. It's kind of like, it's got the guise of a cottage industry with the power of statutory regulations and the sense of, I don't know, we'll know more about you than the application to MI5.
Oh,
it's voyeuristic. It's voyeuristic and wildly disproportionate to the safeguarding it needs to be. It's quite bizarre. Let's have a quick look at the stats. Okay, now this is going to really knock you bandy. So last year, we've just had the we did a podcast last week if anyone's interested on the statistics the government published last week on fostering in England. We will. Don't worry, Wales and Scotland. We're going to come for you too. And actually, they are no better, the statistics in any of the countries. So I'll round these up a bit so I don't do things. Nearly, like all but 150,000 people inquired to be foster carers. Okay. 150,000. What's more, that's increased by 19,000 from the year before.
Well, there's definitely interest.
So, hooray, 150,000 people.
Definitely interest.
Out of that 150,000 inquiries, only just over 8,000 went into assessment. Can you tell me that only 5% of those 150 were suitable to be foster carers? I know, again, people will shout in the podcast saying, oh, it's this reason, it's that reason, that. Basically, I don't care whatever reasons you give me, I still don't believe that 145,000 of them weren't suitable.
No.
So I think that's system failure. Listen, out of that though, what's really even more scary is out of that over 8,000 who entered the assessment, 71% of those who dropped out withdrew themselves.
Wow.
Now, so out of 150,000 inquiries, only 1,700 became carers. And no, again, I don't think it's for the reasons they give, quite honestly. What's even worse is for another day, surely. We can't do it all, but what's worse than that, following this process, which prepares you for nothing, 1 in 3 of those newly approved carers are gone in a year to 18 months.
Wow.
30% gone.
Wow. 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 And while we're on this, what's the cost, Sarah? Because I was told
Yeah,
that
you've done the cost more than me. I think 10 to 15,000 an assessment.
8, 12, I was, it's getting the information there that, since we've been doing this podcast, so I have to say, Sarah, that there's a bit of a loosening.
Yeah, I've had quite a few emails. Yeah.
Yeah, people willing to talk now, and it's trying to get people on the inside of the financial stuff, and have a couple coming forward. And the cost of a Form F, it goes anywhere between 8 and 12,000. Now
Yeah.
that Form F,
I think that is also I think that's generously on the lower end. I've heard figures
yeah.
of 16,000
So
banded
who
around.
pays for this? And we worked out that even though the local authorities pay for it all, because the independent fostering agents can
Well, of
the
course they
cost.
will. Yeah, they'll absorb those costs into the price of
And
the
if and if the
placement. Yeah, of course
local
they will. Yeah.
authorities are paying for it, my dear friends, that means that the taxpayer, we are
Yeah.
paying.
Yeah.
So we went through 4 Form Fs. So let's hit it in the middle. Let's be good. Let's say 10,000 per
Mm,
time.
mm,
Bearing in mind, I wasn't quite sure all the time what they were paying or doing.
mm.
We cost the taxpayer £40,000 to move. We only moved because the children were not being supported. We had to move to find the right support for the children. So there's a big financial implication, and if you think about
Ultimately, actually, that is the children's money.
that, exactly, I should be going to them,
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
spending all this money on paperwork. So
Mm,
you
mm,
let's say we wanted a target of 10,000 new foster carers in a year. I
mm,
have no idea. I just pulled that one out because it's easy to round up.
mm.
That would cost the taxpayer £100 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
That money be better
Oh, yeah.
spent on children and preventing children coming in.
Mm, mm.
There's something very
Again, we're
sinister.
not saying the assessments shouldn't happen, but this, I
This
don't know, it's just become sort of, everyone's
it
become so
feels
attached to it.
wrong.
It's like, oh, we've always done it this way, but it's why we're going to always do it this way.
Feels
And
wrong.
this
It
is
feels
a lot of what underpins the trouble with foster care and the crisis we're in, isn't it? I mean, people withdraw for a mix of reasons, not always that. When you get the feedback from the local authorities and the agencies and the assessors, it's because, oh, they weren't cut out to be carers, or they're every excuse under the sun. But what we hear, of course, from our end and from you, we've done 5 between us, and thousands of carers have given us their feedback on Form Fs.
yeah.
They withdraw for a mix of reasons. It's like long delays, poor organisation, chaotic communication, questionable safeguarding practices within the process. That's a big one. Level of intrusion is excessive, unnecessarily, wildly disproportionate, with addendums that seem to multiply endlessly, don't they?
I
Every stick on.
mean,
We had one the other day where there was a new addendum, whether it was core and bath or not, I don't know, but somebody had been said they got a form. I don't know, it was a generic form from somewhere. I'm not sure it wasn't core and bath, but about how signing a form to say you were going to leave the foster children in your will.
oh, come on. I've heard that one. I've heard that
That
one.
is not,
Back away.
and people are signing it because they don't
Back
desperately want to
away.
be carers. It's
Please.
not that we don't want to be generous to foster children, it's not that, but
Yeah,
supposing
I
some people
already
have 300, 300 over the spread of their
I mean,
time fostering. Some people do emergency fostering. Some people have them for a week. Some people have them for a year. You know, it's
People have over
let's get away from this. You adopt. It's not adoption. It's not happy ever after. It's not one child forever.
300.
Really bizarre. What that form shows is a complete lack of knowledge, basically, doesn't it?
It's a complete lack of knowledge, and
Not
also
anybody who's fostered or really knows about the system.
there's so much scope for the one person. Why is there only one person that sees her through? Now, I used to teach in a university years ago, and when we came to the assessment stage, we were first mark, second mark, third marked,
Mm,
and then we had an external assessor who came in, so
mm,
fine marking. But with the Form F, you get one person who turns up in your life. We've had people go through our bins because they were particularly had a green agenda and didn't believe that we were recycling well enough and had to.
mm.
We've had, I mean, I remember one assessor coming in and sitting down at our table and, oh, hi, I know so and so. And she knew all these mutual people we knew and then
Mm,
said, don't worry, everything you say will be in confidence. By which time I thought, no, it won't.
no.
No, it
Mm,
won't. And
mm,
I know,
mm,
and I've spoken to, I have a recording somewhere of a locum who left, who was doing on a team for Form Fs, because in the office she recorded it me and sent it, said, here, my parting shot to you. This is years ago.
mm,
And they were literally bitching about the families, the foster families' curtains.
mm,
Taking
yeah, yeah,
the doors, and they were
yeah.
mocking their birth children. You
Mm,
know, we expect a level of professionalism. If you're going to do something like this, it has
yeah,
a two-way process.
yeah,
We
yeah,
expect discretion,
yeah.
professionalism,
Mm.
and this sort of quasi psychology is
Well, we're going to come on to
deeply,
that in a minute.
it's so
Absolutely.
dangerous.
Well,
But
it is really dangerous, and it's what's more, it does more harm than good, but also, well, we'll get on to that in a minute. I mean, the level of intrusion is excessive,
yeah,
and it's not that, we'll get on to why it is excessive and not. Again, you have to keep saying this. I'm only banging away at it. Otherwise, people, oh yes, well, if you don't want to have all that, assessment to be a foster carer, then don't. It's vulnerable children. No, it's the system and the Form F and the way it's done that is crippling things, not the fact that we agree that there needs to be assessment. They often hinge. This is what you were saying, wasn't it? It doesn't mean you're surrendering your rights to privacy and data protection, and there are safe and proportionate ways to assess without these nonsensical demands we're facing. The assessments often hinge on the personal dynamic with one single assessor. Then you can clash in personality, opinion, even belief systems. Hey, we won't go into the religion one because we've heard some horror stories on that.
oh, haven't we?
And this one singular assessor with their unconscious and conscious bias, with their own frame of reference,
Yeah,
it's absolutely dangerous that you get it through that one lens. It doesn't prepare anyone to genuinely foster. After going through it twice and hearing hundreds of carers, the message is always consistent. The newly approved carers always begin with little to no meaningful education because it's not law. There's
yeah,
no preparation for caring for traumatized children. I don't care what they say. The Form F does not, even the new revised one.
yeah,
There's no grounding also in the core purpose and responsibilities of the role. Let's face it, that's really important because we are working in a system and we need to know about that system,
yeah,
exactly about that system, and what are the roles of others. We need to hold others accountable
yeah.
and we need to work in the system.
But you can only do that. But
So, yeah,
what's really important also, as I'm listening to you say,
yeah,
how do we know that these individual assessors who come out, that the managers know what they are doing? There is no scrutiny of that.
no, no
How do
supervision. No.
if I were the owner of a fostering agency where, let's be honest, I need as many, well, not need, I would like as many foster carers on my books as
Mm,
possible because there's a huge amount of money for that foster family
mm.
being on my books, whether they
Oh
have.
yeah, 250 grand or something.
So from their business point of view, this falls apart because
Mm.
they know what
Yes.
they're doing. They could be completely, I mean, I've had assessors here completely moaning about their employers.
Yeah.
You know, it's so it is so open for abuse at either end, you know.
Also, the word assessor, it sounds like it suggests some kind of training, whatever. They get a day or two or a few hours training by the organization that sells the forms and the Form F.
Oh, we're
They're
back to
not,
yes,
they don't go through an education of how to assess people.
how to work with people, how, the
Well,
F.
how anything that it's not, it's like, oh, a couple of, and then they're, we're a qualified assessor. Well,
Do you
yeah,
think, I mean,
you know,
it's,
you know.
I love your sound effects. Is that I notice a lot when we
I'm
began.
sorry, I don't mean to have a go at the assessors. You know that, don't
So we're
you?
not
It's
having
not
a go
that.
at the
No,
assessors as
no.
individuals. What we're having a go at is the dangerous systems in which they are placed that seem to give them an autonomy which they are not perhaps qualified, experienced, or trained for.
No, no.
Within that, I mean, there is a temptation, and it somehow sets the whole mood on
Mm,
for
mm,
journey because of the attrition that we feel in this process, we are for then ever, and because of the role of a foster carer being, you don't have a contract, you
mm,
have
mm,
you don't have a clear chain of command, but you have expected to turn up to all the meetings and do the training, but you're not.
mm,
The
mm.
whole thing puts us in a subservient role. In a
Yeah. And it
role.
starts there.
That's
You know, the
back
assessor
to the
comes in,
very
they're the
beginning.
boss, not
Yes,
just the little foster carer who wants to be a
you're
foster
the
carer.
idiot.
Please, God, it's a very much let's
Mm.
see how much you can people please me. It's not an equal relationship. I know some carers go, oh, I'm the most wonderful assessor, but listen to that. You shouldn't go into such an incredibly important, skilled, nuanced role with incredibly traumatized children with a child like, oh, they were so nice to me. That's not what it is. You should
Uh,
be much more professional. I tell you what's funny actually as well, and this is how high they, this is why people, claim that cling on to this Form F, and we really need to speak to Ofsted as well because they can't, they, I don't know whether they've got shares in Core and Bath or something, but they can't keep promoting the Form F as the only way to assess carers and
it's
think everything else is dodgy. That's perhaps a story for another day. But
a
because
big
as long as agencies and local authorities are following regulations 2011, 26, they're doing the correct thing.
yeah.
But what's funny is Core and Bath obviously knew that the Form F wasn't good enough, but they weren't going to do anything about it. Either they didn't, and that's worrying, or they weren't going to do anything about it until we came along and said, this was 2 years ago. I said, no, 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 no. This is all, I wrote an article about it. You can find it on Foster Wiki still.
No, I remember it.
No, no, this has to be kicked into touch. We can't keep assessing people like this. It's destroying foster care and it's destroying the life chances for our children because we're not getting the right people in, people are being turned away. Um, Funnily enough, I started talking about it on LinkedIn and on social media and sending out mail and stuff. And Coram Bath called me for a meeting.
Mm.
Now, I always go into these things because they say collaboration. But honestly, I have to admit, hands up, look, there's my hand going up.
Yeah.
I've been very naive in the past over this collaboration stuff.
Well,
Nobody
okay. Can
actually
we can
wants,
can we
no
look
one
at
wants to collaborate with you. They just want to get all your ideas. But what actually happened is first of all, they spent telling me the whole meeting how they were planning to revise the Form F. Then the revised version came out, and honestly, it was painfully obvious and really disappointing to
Mm.
see that this big, well-funded organization had basically lifted the wording from ours word for word, and suddenly they too had a new strengths-based trauma-informed assessment model.
Oh, what a coincidence.
I know, but the thing, you can copy the words, can't you, but not the intent. What they produce is still the same misguided single assessor model dressed up with shiny new language.
Yeah.
Then they claimed they'd be designing it with foster carers and foster children, their care experience. Now, look, listening to children's voices is vital, okay? Vital. Of course it is. But in this specific content, it's a bit of a smokescreen. I think children know what they want. They want love, safety, belonging. Surely anybody coming into fostering knows they want that. You don't need to be told that, hopefully.
Yeah.
But they can't be expected to define kind of what the educational depth, the trauma knowledge, the attachment science, the system literacy that underpins it all. That's not their job, those children, and never should be.
No, I
Never
totally
should be.
agree.
So I think what we were seeing from Coram was a classic sort of virtue signaling from people who, frankly, in my very humble opinion, don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I know people gasp, but it's Coram Bath, you know. Frankly, if all these organisations were good as they claim, the system wouldn't be in the state that it's in, would it?
No, no, and
You
I
know,
really,
and those of us who actually work workable solutions, we wouldn't still be standing outside in the cold with them.
no, that's a very good point. And Coram Bath, I recently put on the LinkedIn that when I wrote a book about adoption, I could not access really crucial information about foster adoption disruptions and breakdowns.
Mm, mm,
Many of them. So, we're learning as we go. But you
mm,
said that there were 70% of applicants withdraw by themselves. I mean,
mm.
can we just go back to that? Because when we go through this process, it is so intrusive. But what's really important is that everyone else is being paid to do it,
Yes, yeah,
apart from the foster carers.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you think of sometimes these, if you get an assessor that's thoroughly enjoying themselves about asking all these questions and feels like Dr. Ruth,
Mm,
asking
mm.
logical, things. You're taking time out of your paid work. You're
Yeah,
taking time
yeah,
out of your day. It is
yeah,
costing the foster
yeah.
care. This goes back to the
Partners have to take days off, and yeah, yeah,
days of
yes,
your
investment for them actually. Yeah. Mm,
the people that you asked to do your references are taking time out of their working day again.
yeah,
So the 70% of applicants that withdrew themselves, may I throw this one out there?
yeah,
Shouldn't they be the ones you're going after because they have got the wit, the insight, and
yeah,
the
yeah.
self-respect to
Mm.
move themselves from a harmful process because they can predict the attrition that will follow?
That's one of the
It-
big
Because
feedbacks. If that is how it starts, I
these
want
are the
no part of
people,
it. No
but they
part of it. Yeah.
don't want anything to do, but these
Mm,
are the very people that we need fostering because they will have the confidence
mm,
where for alters, advocate for the children because most of our job is advocating for children.
mm.
It's
I've seen the most incredible people withdraw and me say, please give us another chance. Let me find you another agency. Let me do this. The majority go, not on your Nelly.
they're
I'm
the people we
not,
want,
I know, I'm not interested.
but they
And
don't want them. They
yeah,
don't. They only want
no,
compliant.
they sit around. Well, the one was talking to me last week saying the woman walked into the home, sat down, and said, "It's black with 2 sugars, please. You'll get very used to that, and I like it on the table as soon as I arrive." I was like, and I won't
Oh,
mention her name, but she turned around to me and said, "It just didn't start well." And then she said that it was months of nonsense
yeah.
and because also the assessing social worker was also a social worker and had so many other jobs and roles that she
Um,
forgot to do things. Oh,
um,
this one's a real peach. At one point, they lost the. She rang up and said she'd lost their paperwork, and this woman said to me, "That's because it's with my neighbour." I went, "It's what?" She said. She put it on top of her car while she was talking to us and drove off, and it fell off the back of the car. And the neighbour came out and picked it up. All of that.
Gosh, it's like Mr. Magoo's in charge.
And it went from bad to worse. Then she was really, really against this kind of quasi psychological sort of take the children into a. When she found out what this assessor had been asking the children in private, it was frankly terrifying. Now,
Like
bearing in mind, I am actually
very good.
qualified in this job.
This is where I think you can
Terrifying.
and sensitive because they've taken my children to, and I
No,
think
she can't do it.
closed room with my children, but they all those safeguarding rules go out the window when
Mm.
the boot is on the other foot.
And they ask leading questions. They
Yep.
aren't trained to do it. But look, by all means, interview the children, but get a trained child psychologist to speak to them about, being brought up by the parents, by all means do that, but not this. I'm not saying that none of this shouldn't be, but nowhere in the regulations does it state any of this. None of it.
So why are they
paper, it's just this one assessor becomes the single lens through which the whole life of the foster carers is interpreted through their biases, worldview, assumptions, all written up as fact. Then it gets wrapped up in a bow for panel. We'll get to that in a bit. And they look at it and assess the foster carers in 45 minutes. They know they assess the carers. And what's really funny, though, they don't even have the final say. The actual final say goes to the agency decision maker, who has never met these prospective carers at all. That's
and
right,
that makes
once.
sense, doesn't it?
Not once.
And it's a bit like when we look after children, decisions are made about children by people who have never clamped eyes on them.
No.
Judges, managers. This is where the power and the ego and the sheer audacity gets out of control. And again, it's the children and the foster carers who are reduced to the whims and the feelings and the expertise.
Yeah.
These people who could be anyone.
It's such a sort of, it's a real, do you know what it's like? It's like a sort of little gung-ho cottage industry, like, isn't it? It's like, and we'll take as long as we like. I mean, it does not take 8 to 10 months to get a foster carer through. I know lots of agents who say, oh, we do it much quicker. But you're still seeing it through a singular lens, which is so dangerous. And that is being written as opinion, is being written as fact. And they can keep these files for a long time, even if you do pull out.
Yeah, where do they keep them? Where do they,
Well, that's all, and also, so, I mean, let's start. It says what do they do? Obviously you go through hundreds of forms and they fill them in and et cetera, et cetera. This we've already touched on this. This is sort of psychology trauma expert, that they think that they can understand, I don't know, attachment disruption, intergenerational trauma, latent trauma responses, neurobiological underpinnings of parental resilience, all gleaned from a couple of home visits and sat on the sofa drinking coffee and eating biscuits.
God, they're good, aren't they? They're really great.
It's absurd when you think of it like that. It's absurd that we have qualifications for a reason. People are qualified in stuff for a reason, because it's safe and because it works and because they know and understand.
This is nuts. This is absolutely crazy.
I mean, and so many people, of course, as well, withdraw, actually damaged and distressed. And no, don't shout at me and say, well, they obviously weren't cut out to be foster carers. They can't stand that. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's this terrible way of doing it. It isn't true. It really, really isn't. This also, a lot of carers listening to this will know this one. The ex-partner checkup.
Oh, don't go there.
They're reckless, biased, unverifiable, sometimes dangerous, yet placed on permanent record. Let's face it, right? An ex is an ex for a reason, aren't they? They're unlikely to be unbiased, and no assessor is trained to qualify or analyse that in an hour.
How much?
They are not qualified to see through that.
Really
they had down partners from, what is it, your husband, wasn't it? He put his foot down on the fourth.
Yeah, he said, no, because they wanted to. I've got two stepdaughters. One's nearly 40 and one's in the mid-30s, and they wanted to ask them again what they thought of him and me as parents. They left home years ago and live in different parts of the country. We meet up when we can, but it was like they didn't want to get involved. There was they wanted him to contact his ex-wife for the fourth time, and life has moved on.
And like say, ex for a reason,
Exactly.
Obviously, if there's any domestic violence or if there's anything like that, it will show up on the DV.
It was showed up on the first or second. we did it. But when you get to number four, it was just like, are you being
Mm,
serious? But what was really, there's a lot here which is really, really troubling. And I'm listening to you and I'm like, I'm laughing and I'm doing the big shocked face, but I'm really concerned because of the abuse and the God complex which can
mm,
be developed very quickly because who's watching the assessors? And I must put the
mm,
disclaimer, we're not moaning about the assessors, we're moaning about the system. And
mm,
again, the danger of the organization
mm,
that is, you want people to become recruited to your providership. You want to have them on your books, but honestly, you need to sit in these things and see what's going on. Because I can't escape, Sarah. Last week we were talking about the numbers of foster carers going down, despite the nearly
mm.
76 million
Yeah, yeah.
spent on
Very
recruitment.
depressing, yeah.
Yeah, this is the bottleneck here is not the awareness, and you've shown already that there are a lot of people that step up and show interest.
Mm.
It's the process. We
Well,
don't.
and also the thing about there are a lot of huge amount of investments gone into the regional recruitment hubs, but they have gone to people who are sort of good at marketing and stuff and good at whatever. What they don't understand, they see fostering through that narrative that's the sort of public narrative that's so carefully curated and nothing to do with fostering whatsoever. And they then automatically believe that the Form F is the way to assess people. They say we support people along the way. Well, who does and how? And because it's no good having a foster carer buddy to see through a system. The whole bloody system has to go and made much, much more, well, professional for a start. I don't mean that we're turning people into professionals, but we'll get on to what a better system is in a minute. But then what about the other one, the financial? They become a financial expert, some kind of senior strategic director of applied fiscal risk architecture. They think that they're going to make sure that the long-term solvency trajectory of a household is based a deep trawl through last month's bank statement. Why were you in Costa twice this week? People are either solvent or they're not. There's things called credit checks that reveals all the debt you have and
Yeah, I think
everything
that's
like
what
that.
really
To demand people's bank statements to
Oh,
trawl through,
it's
that is not in the
attrition.
regulations.
It's complete attrition. All right, let me see your bank statement. Let me talk to your
And
exes. Let's
it's like
see
the
how.
shaming, isn't it? Oh, what you spent here and what did you spend there and what did you spend here? I had one the other day who said to me that um, it was payments to a betting shop because they'd been betting on the Grand National Week
Yeah.
because they always do and it's fun.
Give me
And they had
something.
bets on the Grand National, but nothing
And
much, like a tenner and stuff. Do you know what they did? They decided they were going to have to go off and examine if they were going to have to go off and speak to specialists about a gambling addiction. They pulled out.
really, I'm surprised.
Oh, yeah, they pulled out.
Oh my God. When
You
we
couldn't make it up, could you?
when we applied ourselves, we'd bought this house that I'm sitting in now, and that particular assessor decided to take it upon herself to go to the estate agents that we bought the house from all the paperwork they had on me. The estate agent phoned up and said, "Look, there's this strange woman." In the
No.
estate agent wanting to know about the house, seeing all the previous details, it says that there was this, that, and the other. And I'm going, what? They
Yeah.
take it to a level where it need not go. What I don't think the providers, management, or owners understand is that you are not there in the room when the assessors.
It's that old thing of directorships, managers, CEOs
Yeah,
only understand what gets fed to them, and it's not us that's feeding it to them.
no,
So they all think everything's fine, and we're maybe exaggerating or something. A lot of people will know we're not exaggerating. Actually, I've had a huge amount of emails from some very big
get them
players
after this
recently
for
who have
us as well.
said, I'm
Mm.
glad you're saying this because actually the regional recruitment hubs, I'm not saying it's the government's fault. I think they get led down certain roads by certain lobbyists and the information they get fed. And, the regional recruitment hubs are cumbersome and based on this old fashioned stuff that's killing it all. what about as well the health expert bit? They suddenly our medical records should never be available to anybody other than the medical advisor.
Yeah.
I've had people sit in panel and they've not quite said it in panel, but afterwards, how's your nasty rash, Mrs. Smith? More or less. It wasn't actually that. I don't want to repeat what it was because
Really?
it's too identifiable.
What? Oh my
Oh,
God.
and then we've had a couple of care leavers. No detriment to them at all. Good that they're there. It's great and everything. But again, goes back to that thing about assessing thing, who said, actually loudly in the room, which was really sad, I wouldn't have you two look after me. You're both too fat.
Oh,
And
I was,
that's sad, isn't it? That
that's,
also they put that young person in that position to say something like that. And
yeah,
you know,
that's right.
it's then that's not saying that all, I mean, I have to be careful with conversations like this because we can easily get attacked, especially when it's about the care experience. But what we know about the care experience is we're not doing right by them. We
Yeah.
are not providing them the loving and belonging and the attachments and the continual attachments they need. This is what we're assessing for.
And
People that can provide that.
And I think it would be really good to this is my personal view that do we need more recruitment campaigns? I think that's a bit of a red herring. What we need
That is definitely a whole podcast.
is an assessment that doesn't break people before
Yeah.
they've begun. You know that you can't keep recruiting people to something that so clearly is failing, and that's
Mm.
70%. If you were in business doing anything else, you would not let those people go.
No.
You would not let 70% of people go without doing whatever you could to keep them. You would
Mm.
bend and twist your project, your work to keep them because they are the right people to have. So what is going on here? I
And
just
what is going on? That's your favorite saying, but it's so true what's going on. I mean, then we got to finish off, we have the health and safety expert. They become the sort of chief environment risk assessor, don't they?
but
Based on a
uh,
clipboard and a slightly wonky stairgate. I mean, that's again that kind of health and safety inspectors exist for a reason. Oh, the
uh,
pet assessment, that one I like. My pets
oh,
always
go
look
on, let's
mildly confused as they analyze their behavior.
oh, for goodness sake.
It's a mildly confused look in their faces and say, what's going on here? But, they're not qualified to assess pets either. Um,
No, no.
really. But anyway, before I really go too far, because I just think that probably it's sounding personal. Of course, it really, really isn't. I'd apologize to any assessors out there. That's not the point. It is about the system. None of this so like the Hoover, right? It's like a mission creep, isn't it?
Yeah,
All these extras have been bolted onto the Hoover, none of which appear in the regulations.
yeah,
And again, you get people saying, oh, well, that's because it needs to be really safe and everything. But it's how you do it, not whether you do it or not. It's how you do it. I mean,
yeah,
then let's face it, we get to panel. Now, I think there are a lot of people who are aware of my opinion on panel that it needs to go.
yeah.
It's radical idea, but I think panel needs to be a thing of the past, fostering panel.
What would you do?
I obviously checks and balances terribly important. And again,
What,
we'll talk about that another day, but panel needs to go. You know why? Because first of all, why are people like accountants and solicitors assessing foster carers?
sorry, I just realised that's so stupid.
Seriously, why?
I never thought about it, but you know what? Because I've been to panel and there's like a retired head teacher that's never fostered.
What?
The
What?
lady in the housing department, somebody, the accountant from a
It-
couple, the mate with the blah blah blah.
What?
Why?
What?
I don't know.
It's ridiculous. It's like going to be, you know, applying for a job to be a plumber and being assessed by,
The
a
baker.
rocket scientist, isn't it? And after 8 months of interrogation, what happens is that singular assessor, opinionated, complete thing gets wrapped up in a bundle and sent off to panel. Okay, panel members say they read them. Some you see flicking through while they're sat outside.
And
But then what? 30 or 40 minutes while the carers are sat there on their best behaviour. then ask, well, and always again, they don't even make a decision. They only recommend. It's like a theatre piece, isn't it? Like pantomime.
Freaking
So
Benny Hill.
you have to listen to this. Um, so this point in the process is really for me where the infantilization kicks in and the power trips.
Yeah.
You're given advice for panel that feels less like guidance for adults stepping into a complex safeguarding role and more like instructions aimed at 6-year-olds on their first day of school.
Oh my
That
God.
tone suggests that because you can't be entrusted to dress yourself, apparently, but you're not calm enough to pick out clean clothes. This is an actual article, okay?
Read it to me, Sarah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah,
So
go.
this is real advice from a real fostering agency. I'm very happy to share, but I don't want to name and shame on how to prepare for panel, okay?
Right.
And it claims it tells you everything you need to know about how carers, need to prepare for panel. It also tells you everything you need to know about the infantilization of carers from day one. So it basically paints carers as nervous, overwhelmed, and confused. Panel's presented as daunting and unknown, full of fear and judgment. As though meeting this group of professionals is like the peak challenge rather than caring for traumatized children, with layers and layers of needs, No, it's panel. Then they get onto the reassurance bit, where, like they're talking to a kid. They're told not to worry. Everyone will be smiling and friendly. They're not there to catch you out. That's the tone used for a 7-year. I've gone up in octaves and I come down in octaves. That's the tone used with a 7-year-old going to the dentist, not adults entering a safeguarding role, isn't it? These are then, and also I love their assumptions of total incompetence. Okay, the article implies that applicants might forget the basics. Grooming, clothing, holding a conversation. It paints them as if they're lucky to get through the morning without spilling cereal on themselves. And this then the mythical supportive assessor. People go, oh, Kara, my assessor's been so supportive. They gush about how comforting it is to see the assessor in the meeting, ignoring the reality that the assessor vanishes the moment panel is over. The first of many disappearing acts in the support system, I might add.
Any
Isn't it?
moment.
The assessor runs for the hills then, never to be seen again. What a waste of a beginning. What a waste of getting to know somebody. How ludicrous is that you 8 months getting to know somebody and then you just disappear and it all starts over again with someone new.
You disappear with
Here's
all
the questions. This is the panel questions. This is all from this article. I'm not making anything up, okay? Panel questions treated like rocket science, okay? So it's really difficult questions for, somebody who's going to be, working with, as I say, the most traumatized children in this country needs to understand trauma
big
response.
work,
Here's
isn't
the
it?
questions.
Really.
Will everyone fit in the car? I kid you not, this is on the article. This is just to give them an idea of what's going to be asked. How will you manage the school runs? And I like this one because you ain't going to. How will you find time for yourselves?
Oh, for goodness sake.
They're framed as though they require exceptional intellectual skill when in reality, most functioning families figure these things out daily. I mean, it's just
Oh my.
excruciating. Then the everyday tasks, I love that, portrayed as heroic achievements. They
What?
celebrate answering the question to the best of your ability and congratulate them when they last a whole hour with panel. And an extraordinarily low bar for the role that requires emotional intelligence, resilience, critical thinking, and trauma-informed competence. I mean, it's such a low bar,
Wash your hair.
And then the reassuring language is sort of rooted in sort of this, wrapped in this childlike language. These are quotes from the article. Don't worry because everyone is rooting for you. Don't be nervous, just smile. how you speak to people preparing for this role, is it? Then I got the icing on the cake for you, which you'll really love. The grand piece of wisdom that they end with. The thing they believe new foster carers most need to know about before being entrusted with traumatized children. The bit of advice that they give as the really big important bit of advice. Don't forget to dress smartly and don't forget to brush your hair.
You are kidding
Oh,
me. You are kidding
no,
me. Oh,
I'm sure the agency, well, if they do recognize this themselves, I'm sure they'll whip it down, but I haven't got a
I
copy.
hope so.
I mean, we don't, it's not about naming and shaming because that is I looked up loads and they were all similar. That one really was good, but
That's right.
it might be something to do with Wales, but I won't go any further than that.
Dress smartly and don't forget to brush your hair.
Indeed. Dress smartly and don't forget to brush your hair.
And
Don't
with
forget to
foster
brush your
carers,
hair.
we know. I mean, it's like do you remember, Sarah, at the very beginning of our work in all this years ago, we were up in Islington in that hall,
Oh,
and
yes, yes, yeah,
we
yeah.
were talking to, we had, in one after the other, in came foster carers who were seriously fed up.
Mm,
And while you all, the speakers were, doing something intelligent, I got hold of the microphone, just a little bit of side
mm,
amusement, a little stand up, and I said to the whole room, "How many of you bring with you professional careers?" And every arm went up.
yeah,
How many of you feel that your professionalism is reduced as
yeah.
a carer?
Every arm went up.
And we went around the room, and then people say, "Oh, I'm an engineer, I'm this, I'm that." And
Mm,
what
mm.
stayed with me was this woman stood up, and I said, how do you feel?" And she said, "We retired early to help young men. We
Yeah,
became foster carers,
yeah,
and we are treated like children. We are treated appallingly." And I
yeah.
said, "What did you do?" And she said, "I was the head of child protection,
Oh, I
particular,
remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know who that was. Yeah, yeah,
huge
yeah, yeah.
police force."
Yes,
And
yeah.
we all went,
Mm.
because this is the bit that, is like, forget your recruitment campaigns because you are not recruiting people. The people
No,
want to foster. They do. That's evident.
these people are every bit. I mean, I know Josh McAllister's talking about, he's got a real thing, I think, because he was a teacher, about, getting teachers to foster. We need teachers to foster in certain ways because will they remain teachers or will one of them remain teachers? There's lots of questions in that. But if if you want more professional people to join, and this is not in any way detrimental to anyone who hasn't had a professional career beforehand, but most
Yeah.
people have done something. But you also cannot put them through this system because those are the 70% that leave. I know we've just got about 5 minutes left. Maybe we should go on to what's the answer?
Exactly. I'd love to know. Now, Sarah, I know that a while ago, well, I know for a long time, you did a huge amount of work about, another version of the Form F. Because I remember saying to you, look, because it's one of those particular points before I went to number 4 was like, I think we've had enough. I think
Mhm.
we've really had
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Seriously,
Surprised you stuck it out. Yeah.
yeah. But we had children with us, and we had children with
Yes, of course you did. Yeah. Mm,
that we'd been through the Form F with before, and we had the same children. We got to go through
mm,
them again.
mm,
And I
mm.
said enough. And you said to me that I've been writing a shorter version, a kinder version, and more informed. Now, you've told me briefly about it, and you've told others, but please, why is your version different?
I think one of the most important things to say out of everything, in reflection to what you've said as well, it is not a quick version of the Form F. It's not a shortened version of it. It's nothing to do with the Form F. It is a completely new, modern, strengths-based.
Jordan,
What it is, because Coram Baffert, strengths-based, trauma-informed education
what's it called?
assessment. Now, first of all, I don't want to look like this whole podcast was for me plying my wares. So, but I think at the same time, yes, we've made it and we think it's very good, but not for any little reason. We didn't have funding to set it up. It's taken pure passion, dedication, 7 days a week buried in this stuff. Thousands and thousands of carers spoken to, people on the assessment have done this, so basically it's a real modern alternative. It's developed by sector experts. It takes 8 to 10 weeks, not 8 months. And however people go, oh, we can do the Form F. If you're speeding up that to 10 weeks, I don't know. It's strengths-based and relational. And I mean that in the true sense of the word. The whole thing is based around the carer and their strengths, self-awareness. It's about they do their own they do their own self-assessments. And then also with it's trauma informed, but also trauma informed. Here's a really important one as well. Integrated into the whole process is the National Foster Carers ITOL accredited, which is an occupational accreditation, qualification in foster care, which is a really, really in-depth qualification. They can finish it in that time. So it's better safeguarding, better preparation, better retention throughout the assessment. And the applicants emerge confident, informed, reflective, really important, knowing more about themselves, because foster care all begins with the self. And it's quite the opposite of a Form F experience. It values you. You are an equal in it. Now, also, we do a lot of work in office, not just on the sofa. So that carers who then will have to get used to being in offices and in meetings and be a consummate professional in those environments. It also means that we won't get the dropout rate. It won't be a financial waste. I mean, what we do as well is we have a different structure in that instead of a Form F, which is a singular assessor, then followed by a bunch of people for 40 minutes on panel, and then the ADM, what we do is that's top heavy. We do it we're heavier at the beginning. So there are 3 or 4 people, 5 people even, who assess the carers, but it doesn't take more work. It's just divided up. Then you get this marvelous cross section of opinions they can all bounce off each other because they will all have a different view of what those carers are like, their strengths and weaknesses. Also, one person, social worker, another social worker, they may spot different strengths and different areas for weaknesses. Plus, during the assessment, we run what we call NFCQ practice groups, but the organisation can run that themselves if they want, where they do some theory to practice as they're learning. And then you can bring in other foster carers who are already experienced and they can understand, the practice of foster care. They don't want a mentor who's going, oh, you're all right, brush your hair. They need people who are saying, that when these children are really traumatized, this can be really hard, but this is how we work with it. This is what you've got a carer on day one. Remember, day one, okay, when we came out of panel, right, it was 2 hours home from the New Forest to home. When we got there, was already a social worker and a young person on the doorstep. That's how desperate they were. But when that happens, even if, let's face it, people go, oh, you're going to, in the assessment, well, you like that one, don't you? In the assessment, you're going to be matched up. Matching. No, we haven't got enough carers to do matching at the moment. And so what happens is those carers, very often the carers also get the children they can't place elsewhere because they're a bit naive and won't say no. And, they dump a child, run for the hills, for social worker gone, brand new social worker you don't know anything about, doesn't know you, and wallop. And they wonder why it all goes horribly wrong.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So who benefits from the Form F? Because it certainly isn't the children. It's not the foster carers. It's not the local authorities that end up funding the Form F. It's not the taxpayers. And it's certainly not helping the recruitment crisis. So who benefits from this?
No.
This model? Well, we need to know.
I mean, our integrated assessment process, imagine that, also it will really appeal to professionals.
Yeah.
Because, and again, the teachers that Josh McAllister wants to bring in, because it's this huge untapped demographic. But they'll go, oh, look, here's a system. Here we go to the office. Here we do that. Here we interviewed here. Here we do our self-assessment. Here we discuss our self-assessment. Here we do the qualification. It's
But
not a cottage industry
was
nonsense.
Josh McAllister a teacher for long? Was Josh McAllister a teacher with his own family? Was Josh McAllister,
Yeah, I don't honestly know, but I
so
mean, we have got an opportunity to meet up with Josh McAllister now. So we're kind of, I think there's an opportunity for listening there. I really do think there is. And I've had some communications with the DFE this last week, which has encouraged me. So so let's see what happens, because I think they are open to these new ones, especially since the stats. I'm very aware of time. It's one of those things, isn't it, fostering, that you can talk forever.
well, there's a lot to talk about, but I appreciate today it's Form F. When we started this, and I remember saying to you, let's just start at the beginning. Let's
Yes, that's
go
exactly
through the
what I said.
entire journey of what it means to be a foster carer. So the Form F. I would like at some point, Sarah, to explore the marketing, because what got foster carers to the point of Form F, and I think
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
as well. But we just keep moving through the stages and the tradition of
Yeah.
foster carer,
Good to do a whole one on marketing, because it goes to narrative, doesn't it? And
it really does. But
cupcakes and sprinkles.
don't get me started, please.
No.
So no, that's good. I appreciate that, and I
Yeah.
hope listeners.
Yeah, I'm sure we missed bits out, but we can come back to them. Thank you,
It's,
anybody who's got this far
yeah.
with our ramblings.
Well, less ramblings, I think more kind of mutual awareness. And I know we hope we talk for many foster carers that have been in, and the 70% that didn't pursue it. The 70 that's
Yes,
bad.
please. If you're one of the 70%, contact us at, well, you can
Yeah.
contact info@fosterwiki.com. We are referring a lot of carers onto agencies, but only the ones that we approve of. And that, it doesn't earn us any money, but we certainly feel that we're getting fostering, we're doing the right thing by fostering. We do that's in all our work, isn't it? Let's do the right thing by the children.
Absolutely. Do right by
Let's
them.
do the right thing by the children.
Yep.
So maybe that's the note we end on.
Yep.
So tune in next week, because we have Nana Yebi Hagen, and that you can Google him. That is going to be an incredible one again. We've got Mina Youngbear coming up, and we might have a really important surprise guest, but we don't know if we've bagged him yet, do we?
Like mugged him,
Gone.
kidnapped,
So let's see.
taking him hostage, perhaps. Not yet.
So there's there's a lot of opportunity for some great discussions, and let's remember foster carers are the jewel in foster care's crown.
And I'd also like to say, because we seem to be gathering quite a lot of listeners, is if you're an organization connected to fostering, and you would like to sponsor an episode, or indeed advertise
Midway,
we'll read out your advert in our best voices. But if you'd like to sponsor or advertise, do get in touch.
Yes, please do. Thank you, everybody, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.